This is like the Christmas section, We're all decked out.
Yeah, we got the tree decorated.
There you go. This is the Fishing Guide Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Wiegmann, along with my co-host, Mitch Glenn.
Hey, good job, Brad. Who you got for us today?
Today we have Bro.
Bro's on the line?
Bro's on the line.
Yo, Bro, you there?
Hey, how you doing?
All right.
Brian
Mitch
Brosdhal.
and Brad, I'm glad to talk to you today. I'm Brian Brosdhal, but ever since I was a kid, everybody called me Bro. I had a English teacher who was a hockey coach, and nobody had their full name. He gave people nicknames, and it could have been worse. So
your English teacher was the hockey coach. Now, I've seen a little bit of hockey games. I didn't hear a whole lot of proper English at a hockey game. So
No. And one time I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he went to English class and a hockey game broke out too.
Right.
So, Brian, tell everyone who's watching our show or listening to our podcast what you do and where you live, because they might not be getting the reason why we're talking about hockey.
Sure. Well, I live in northern Minnesota, and I'm a fishing guide, year-round fishing guide, and most of my guiding is in the winter, ice time in the wintertime. Actually, let's put that back. I do more trips in the summer out of a boat, and in the winter, because I'm known for ice up here, I do a lot more seminars and promotion. So I don't get to guide as much on the ice as I used to because I have sponsors now. But in open water, I guide on Cass Lake, Leech Lake, and Lake Winnebagosh. Yeah. And Cass Lake is pretty widely known throughout the U.S. And then Leech Lake is also, they have big bass tournaments on Leech Lake. And that's a little bit north of Mille Lacs where the Bassmaster Elite goes to.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were just here this summer and last summer fishing lakes about a half hour south of me where I live, up in the Grand Rapids area, and for big smallies and largemouth. But I guide primarily for walleye. People like to catch them. They like to eat them. And we catch all different sizes. They're kind of the food fish in the area and a trophy fish. But we catch smallmouth bass and largemouth bass, even when we're fishing for walleyes, jumbo perch, they're like a bluegill or a crappie. They're like a bonus fish, but they're firm and taste like a walleye. But so I guide in the summertime. We're fishing sand flats with a little bit of weeds and dragging a lead head and a minnow, and obviously it's painted, so we have different colors and. Fireball jig heads are what they are, and we get shiners, and we'll hook shiners on. And there's a little bit of a jigging cadence you got to get used to, and when a fish hits, you got to wait a second for them to take it a little bit. And so I take clients out, we get walleyes, and then in the wintertime, we'll get a foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, sometimes 4 feet of ice. Early on, we'll be on foot. And we walk out if it's 4 inches to about 8 inches of ice. And then once we get a little bit more, we'll take the four-wheelers, the side-by-sides, snowmobiles. And then when we get 16 inches of ice, then we drive the truck that I pull my boat down the highway with, right on the ice.
Is that, you got one of those ice shacks that's got like satellite TV and bunk beds and everything in it?
Mine aren't quite that fancy. I have, they look like storage sheds on wheels, and but they're warm, and they kind of smell like an old closed down bar inside of them. Yeah. But the nice thing about those houses, I don't use them all day. I don't drop people off. There you go. See you later. I take people out with little portable houses that you flip up.
Right.
Braybill makes, and that way we can move around, because in open water, how long are you going to sit on a spot and not catching fish? Not long. You're going to get out of there and run down the lake. Well, we do the same thing. If we're not catching fish in a spot, I'll pick where we got them yesterday. Might be good for a day or two, and then then eventually you're going to pull up on the spot and it's not going to be any good. So I'll set people up, and I'm immediately out roving around checking different structures and weed beds, and I try to find fish and then move people to those spots. So even if they're catching fish in the wintertime, I hurry up and I go check out other areas, because fish don't last that long, when people are catching on them. And in the summertime, it's different, because I'm with them the whole time. I can't set them up and then go scout.
Right.
Because when you're scouting in the summertime, the people are with you, and not everything has fish every day. So you're going to run into some dead ends in the summertime. Winter is a lot better, because I could set them up and move and go check out stuff, and then bring them over. And so there's a little more efficiency there.
Sounds like a lot of work too, though.
It's a lot of work. That's why there's not too many of us doing this in the wintertime. A lot of outfits up here will just have a string of houses out on the ice, and you drive up and you rent them, and you go into the house, and it is what it is. If you get them, you get them. If you don't, you don't. And some really good operators might move the house once, and some actually charge every extra move, but they're not going to move you around all day, because it takes 2 hours from the time they crank it up, they drop it, drill the holes, clean the slush out, bank the house, and then set you up. So I don't do that. I don't do that, but I do have my little guide secrets too. Is what I'll have a bigger house on a consistent spot where walleyes move through in the evening, and that's my exit strategy, because I'll set people up in it, and I'll drill holes around it so they can walk around if there's nothing under the house. And then as the sun hits the treetops, I'll fish with them a little bit. But when it gets dark, they don't have to go home. I'll let them stay out later, but they know how to turn off the heat and lock the door. And that's my exit strategy. So I'm not out all night, So it's kind of fun. It's different in the wintertime.
So how do you know whose hole is whose hole? Like, and you're in a boat, you kind of have your own little area. No one should come within at least 10, 15 foot of you in a boat.
Oh, sure.
But how do they know, that's your hole?
Well, what it is just an honor system.
Oh.
People will hurry up and set up a house to block a good point or a little rock pile. Right. But there is no rules other than 10 feet. And I think it should be 30 feet, to be honest with you, because there's very little arguing on the ice. It's a gentleman's agreement, and some of these lakes are just big enough where, you just go to the next place. And then if you got like Lake Bemidji, you'll have up to 450 to 500 fish houses on it.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, in a normal year, yeah. Well, it's a place where they can go out after work. Let's say work and whatever a person would do. Right after work, they call the wife, I'm heading to the house, and they go out to the house, and they catch a meal of fish, or they catch nothing, or they get a bunch of fish, or they go out there with some beverage and watch TV, and then there's or families can go after school or work, and now with all the strange times and COVID and all that stuff, some families are really taking to fishing up here, and I have a feeling that it's going to be extremely busy on all these lakes. I know Minnesota's land of 10,000 lakes, and it's really more like 13,000.
Yeah.
Right.
But I live in a county that has over 1,000 lakes, and so within 100 miles, there's 1,000 lakes to fish.
Oh my God!
But you can't get on every one of them in the wintertime. It's just like anywhere else. When I'm in Arkansas, they go down a trail to an access. In the wintertime, those trails aren't plowed. The municipality can only plow so many miles of road, so you're kind of on your own. So you park where you can park, and you unload your machines, your side by side or your snowmobile. But that's the fun of it. When I get visitors, if they're from out of state and they've never ice fished before, sometimes it's fun to go back in the woods on a long trail on a sled where they get to see just how wild it is. And then you get to the lake. It's beautiful. And other times, I had some guys from Louisiana, and they got on the plane. It was 80 when they left Louisiana, 80 or 88. When they got off the plane, it was minus 29.
Oh, my Lord.
And they thought they might made a big mistake. And so
yeah, I can see that.
And so I promised them that they wouldn't get cold. And what we did is I had a spot. I put a pop-up house, which is a tent that you can just pull out the sides like a turkey blind.
Yeah.
And it's a frable house. And they pulled their truck up, and I put the heater on the house. So they walked from a heated truck to a heated house. And obviously it's not going to be as warm as the truck right away, but they were surprised how easy it was. And I asked them if they were cold, but I could only see their nose because they had their hood up and everything. Yeah. They said, and then the guy from Louisiana says, "I'm not cold, but my nose is cold." But they're dressed in a suit, bundled up, big boots. And I said, "Well, that's the only part sticking out in the air." Yeah. And at the end of the trip, they loved it because we're fishing about 8 feet of water, gin clear water, and they watched a 25-inch walleye come up and grab their bait.
Wow. Oh, wow.
And I heard them some noise and yelling, and I come over there and open up their house, and a beautiful walleye. I got a picture, and then they got some jumbo perch to eat.
Yeah.
And then there's some screaming later, yelling and hollering and swearing, and I went in there. And there was a northern, and it wasn't even that big. And they said that fish was the most fun.
Oh, really?
Because they're like a little barracuda, you know. And, and they really enjoyed it. And but you know, at the end of the trip, they gave me an alligator head as a gift, and I thought that was really cool. So
there you go.
It's ice fishing appeals to everybody, and it is cold. It's a fear of being really cold for some is a fear of being really hot for others. Like when I go to ICAST in Florida, I'm always worried about what to wear. I am worried the whole time because I live in a lot of 60, 70-degree temps up here in the summertime. It's it's warm, not
jacket
super
weather.
Hot. It's just kind of warm, jacket weather, and and I get off the plane at ICAST in Orlando. And it's 102 degrees or something like that.
The humidity or the temperature? Hey, we're from Arkansas, man. I mean, at least it rains every day in Florida.
Yeah. Oh, it does. And I tell you though, so I have a fear of heat, and then went to the beaches in Melbourne, Florida, and it was 100 degrees. And for me, I was like Frosty the Snowman. There's nothing but a puddle. I'm more of I say that to me, heat is hard to deal with. Cold is easy because you can just put clothes on.
Right. So tell us, electronics is kind of important. You also you do some stuff with Aquaview. Do you use your camera, your underwater camera, when you're ice fishing?
I use my underwater camera every day.
Oh, and, what channels does it get? Does it get ESPN or anything?
Yeah, it's so entertaining to watch the fish. Earlier, not even more than 45 minutes ago, I had a giant for up here largemouth bass come up to my hook. And he was just about to hit, and he turned. It flared away. Oh. And I would have never known had I not been watching it. But this fish was just giant, and it gives me a little more energy to go back after him. We don't always catch largemouth through the ice. You got to be in the right area. But they're super active right now, and we had one yesterday with 6.5 pounds. And,
so Aquaview still works, like running it. It's a must-have. Open water or ice, I always have Aquaview. Even when I'm on a lake in my Ranger boat, I have an Aquaview laying there. I just drop over the side and see what kind of fish are really down there, because sometimes you're sitting on a school of walleyes, and they're not walleyes, they're rough fish.
Oh, yeah.
And my hummingbird's nice because I can look off to the side and I could see fish laying in the distance.
Right.
Which before we'd only look down. for ever since sonar was around.
Right.
We looked down, and then Humminbird came up with side imaging, and I've been using it ever since it came out. Now, the last 4 years, it is so detailed I could see the fish and tell people where to cast. And, for instance, I don't guide for muskies. I used to. And you got to concentrate on a couple species because you can be kind of good at a lot of things or really good at one or two things, you know. So I guide for walleyes, and if I get a group and they want to go for multiple days, we'll go for walleyes and then maybe smallies the next day, smallmouth bass. And I can see the fish and tell them where to cast. But if I were a muskie guide now, they don't cast all day. Remember, it was 10,000 casts for catching a muskie?
Yep.
It's not. You drive around till you see them on side imaging on the Humminbird, and then you cast at them.
Wow. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
It's a shortcut, and I can't imagine how good that would be on, on the out on the Gulf or on the intercoastal ways. That's got to be good everywhere that there's water, just to see the fish before you cast.
Right. Does the Mega 360? Can you hook that up and use that when you're ice fishing?
Yep, I've been using it, and it's helped me find these fish. We were looking for crappies yesterday in the basin, and I dropped my Humminbird down with a 360, and I got lithium batteries running it, just little ones. And the 360 with Mega, you could see the crappies.
Wow.
You'll see a little squadron, like little fighters, floating around.
Yeah.
And it kind of looks like, if they're off the bottom a ways, they cast a little black shadow. Well, it looks like someone shot buckshot on your screen, like just a hole.
Yep.
And it's all crappies. And then you just look at the number of feet, which direction, walk over their drill a hole, and then they're under that hole, and you catch them.
Wow.
It's instead of drilling a bunch of holes, drop the 360 and go to the fish.
Huh.
It's really cool. And Humminbird invented the category, and 360 to me is better than anything that's out there as far as finding fish, because some of the other stuff that's out there don't show fish that are laying on the bottom, and the 360 does. So you'll see fish like walleyes, perch, and pike. You'll see on the bottom, even if they're laying, not casting a shadow, they clearly shows the image of them. It's just amazing. Riverbeds. And the problem is some of these brush piles that I had found that nobody knew about, they're finding them because they got the same technology as me. And it is funny. And you could see the crappies sitting over the brush on 360 or on the edge of the weeds. And it's gotten so much easier because of Aquaview, because of Humminbird. It's not a goose chase anymore, running around trying to find the fish, working long hours just to even try to produce schools of fish for the people for the next few days. I go find them. Yeah. And if I lose them, I find them again because I know exactly what to look for. And,
probably even know which direction they were headed when they left.
Yeah, and you could tell because the Humminbird Helix and also with the 360 or side imaging, you can see which direction their noses are pointed.
Right.
And if you get too close to them, and the water's up here, like Cass Lake is zebra mussel water. In the spring, it's 25 foot of clarity.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
If you get close to them and you see the walleyes on 360 or side imaging, you'll actually see what I call blowing up the school, where they're going every direction like it blew up. And if you get close to them, they flare away, and it shows it right on that screen. It's really cool.
Huh. How come you use such small rods when you're ice fishing? Shouldn't you use a bigger rod? That's funny. It's cold up here. That's why the rods are so small.
They were 8 footers. So when it gets 29 below, they shrink, right?
Yeah, they do. Well, no, what happens is you're fishing right next to the hole, and could you imagine using a 7-foot rod? You'd have to sit 7 feet away from your hole and try to drop that lure down there.
I got you.
When you're ice fishing, you're fishing by your feet, and the fish is right below you.
Well, you could invent a new game there. You know, you could have one ice shack that you're in and one ice shack that the hole is in, and they would have
you could pickpocket fish.
Yeah, they would have to cast into the hole. You know.
Yeah, they do use. That's true. They do use longer rods in different areas.
Right.
And this is why in fringe states that don't get much ice, they're walking on the ice, and it makes a lot of noise because the ice is only 3, 4, 5 inches thick ever.
Wow.
And they use long rods, and they drill a bunch of holes, and then as they're walking up to the hole, because the fish are in shallow water, they could see you. They use longer rods like 3, 4, 5 footers, and they reach to that hole and fish it, and then without moving, move their arm over and reach to another hole and fish it without ever moving out of place. So there's that, but 6, 7, 8 foot rod would not. It gets a little bit too much, and like a crane operator. But it makes sense though, because if you walk right up to those spots in those thin ice lakes that have fish right under the hole, you're just spooking them away. And here it don't matter because we're fishing from
4 foot of ice. Good night.
Yeah, 10 feet of water to 55 feet.
That would make iced tea for everybody in the South. You know that? That's what we use ice for down here.
Well, and I understand that, and but if you get some fringe states that never get ice, like when they get ice in the northern part of Kansas,
right?
I know that there's been some ice fishermen have gone down there and just wrecked the crappies and caught bass. But most people stay off the lakes because they figure ice is not safe. But if you know how to read it, if you drill or you take a chisel and you check it, the edge of Kansas or southern Iowa, if they get ice, they get really big crappies and bluegills and do quite well. And Lake Erie, for instance. Now that sounds like it's really far north, but it's actually farther south than the state I'm in.
Right.
Minnesota's a rectangular state. It's really long. The northern part is up by Lake Superior. The southern part is, it's way down there. But you get down into Ohio area. That's about it's a real far south area to have walleyes, but it only freezes over a couple of times every decade, and when it does, it is madness. Everybody goes there. Now you got a ice fishery that's only half the distance for you guys to go to. Instead of going to Minnesota, you can just run up to Ohio and you can go out there catch walleyes. And so when Erie freezes, it just gets, because the fishing is so good,
it's stupid
you can
crazy.
Sit right over. It's stupid crazy. It really is. And I live way up here, but I would go down there to try it because it's such a neat thing. But it's not every place gets ice, like you say. It's just in their drink.
Brian, tell us how people can get hold of you and what social media can they check out to find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to brosguideservice.com and you'll see everything there. I got a website. So, and then we'll just work out some dates that work for you. And I don't have very much on the ice. I have maybe a dozen dates open left because between the social media and the promotion, and it's more of a virtual world this year because of that bug. But anyway, look, if you're going to come up this way, shoot me a message and I could tell you where to stay and we'll meet and go fishing. And you could bring your own boat, just learn the ropes and go from there. And it's a fun place. If you want to come up and check it out, it's a beautiful lake, Cass Lake, lots of resorts, or Leech Lake, or Lake Winnebagosh. These are 25, 60,000, and 115,000 acre lakes.
Wow.
And so you won't get bored with them, and you'll hardly scratch the surface, but they offer all kinds of different species of fish. So go to brosguideservice.com. I'd be glad to show you around. And then also, if you want to just follow me, you can go to Brian Brosdhal. And they put Brian Brosdhal, then people know that it's me. I've always had that nickname forever. So you put that in, you can follow what I do today, because I'll I document it. I try to stay current on all my Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. And then I got a little thing I do, since I can't do seminars live at some of the stores because you're bringing in 200 people in one room.
Right.
I do College of Ice.
Right.
So check out College of Ice, and it's on Wednesdays and Sundays, and you'll see it on my Facebook, but you can check it out on Frayville. They have a link there. You follow College of Ice. We just had 2 weeks ago, we had Kevin Van Dam on there. He ice fishes. It was a very interesting talk, and you could actually watch him again. And good show, very entertaining. I have a co-host, and it's live. You watch us, you can laugh at us, you know, you can comment. But definitely, if you get a chance, check out College of Ice. Episode 8 is coming up here Sunday, and that's all I can do this year because you can't, because of that bug. But anyway, it was very good being on the show. Thanks, Mitch and Brad.
Hey, good to have you, man. Now we can say we know Bro. Yeah,
you know Bro, and you can start your bromance now.
That's right.
I've heard it all. You know.
Yeah, I'll bet.
With my nickname, that whole bro thing and all the different things. But I'm the only bro in fishing.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, but when I tried to buy the thing for the Facebook,
right,
I couldn't because there was like 1,000 of them in California.
Oh, I bet.
Bro. All right. Thank you, Brian.
You guys have a great day. We'll talk to you later.
You too.
All right. We'll see you. You know what that means, Mitch? It's time for tackle time.
Man,
What do we got? Tackle time.
Look what time of year it is.
I know.
Yeah, man, it gets me in the mood every time.
All
Gets
right.
me in the mood to go fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Green fish. Yeah, it all runs together. Well, this year I have so many people that don't know what to get for their spouse, for their kids, whatever. I put together the Best of Mitch kit.
The Best of Mitch kit.
Right. And I put this together to fish from the bank.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I had that in mind when I did this because so many people don't have a boat or they've only got an hour to fish.
Right. Okay.
So we put together a kit.
Right.
You've got a PICO sticker in here because we all know that little kids and grown men all like stickers.
Okay.
It's a must-have. So I put the stuff in here that I fish, and I'm actually going to take this fishing here in a little while. I've got my best pointer shads in here. I've got some scent ring pointers. I got curl tails, and I've got tubes. I've covered my bases here. I've got stuff for murky-colored water, clear water. I got a couple of square bill crankbaits in here to imitate a crawdad or a shad. I got a top water in here. You don't need, deep diving crankbaits and really high-tech specialty stuff. But I love fishing with little crappie jigs and a bobber. And so I've got these in here. I've got you a selection of jig heads. I put a few shaky heads in here. So if you want to buy you a pack of worms to go with this, you got everything you need, man. It's all in here. This is about a $52 retail value right here. We're going to put it online for $49.99 for Christmas. And right now, get the code that we're going to show you, and you can get another 15% off of that. Great Christmas gift. Everybody loves it. Everything you need in one package. Grab a rod and reel, off to the lake.
What's it called again? Mitch's kit?
This is the Best of Mitch kit.
Best of Mitch kit. Okay, I'm sure your media guy loves you. I'll go anywhere in the country
with this and a rod and reel, and if I can walk to the water, there's something in the water I can catch with this.
There you have it. That's it for our show today. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast channels. So
that's right.
There you go. And so from Mitch and myself, make sure you keep your hooks sharp and your lures in the water.